you'll get to the point where you do accumulate a decent amount of body fat. You'll feel like appetite is coming down or appetite is suppressed. You'll feel a little bit more sluggish in the gym. You'll feel like you're dragging yourself around.
Jello Beats, holla at me.
Hey guys, so welcome back to the channel and another informative video. So you've liked these. I'm so grateful for the feedback and for the responses on these. It's literally blowing me away how sort of positive these are, and I think in terms of frequency I'll be bringing these style of videos around about 3 times per week. Follow that up with one podcast and one vlog / prep update. So hope that sort of frequency works for you guys and you enjoy watching them, so I'll keep them coming. So today, as you can tell, I'm going to be talking about when you should diet, because the last video that we did a video on when you shouldn't, or why you shouldn't be dieting. And the general response on that was great, yet some of the inboxes and the comments on the comment section was pertaining to the fact that I didn't really mention when you should diet, and that I'm generally advising people to just bulk and get the size of the moon, which is not what I actually meant and definitely not what I'm advising. So obviously, in terms of being a bodybuilder or in terms of being someone that wants to build as much muscle mass as possible, we have got to have dieting phases. We've got to be almost cyclical in the way that we look at our nutrition over the long term. We've got to, in some way, periodize things in a fashion that allows us to not get to that point where we're looking like the moon, because that's not advantageous for us in terms of building muscle or just generally enjoying the process, because, you know, we talked about it last time, you tend to feel uncomfortable at some point in a gaining phase. And if I was saying that you could continue to gain forever, you'd reach that point of feeling uncomfortable, and you'd have to be there for some significant time period. And that's not fun, you know, people don't like that. You get sluggish, you get tired, you get run down, and that's something that we just don't really want, and we don't really have to do that. So there are time periods where you do have to diet, and these diets will look different, especially if you have differing goals. But for the most part, let's cover when you should diet if you just want to clean up and you want to go again. And this generally in the fitness industry is recognized, or at least termed to, as a mini cut. It's a short, more aggressive phase of dieting that will result in some body weight loss in order for us to continue gaining. And in terms of how I'd set this up, or when I would do this, because that's what the video is pertaining to, I would do this at a point where I'd seen the client get to a point where I am seeing body fat accumulation that I'm not necessarily happy with. We know, or in the research it will suggest, that a leaner individual will be in a better position to put on muscle mass. And the reason behind this is generally related to nutrient partitioning, and the fact that when you are above a certain level of body fat, you will have the ability to have a preferential effect of gaining more body fat over gaining perhaps more lean tissue mass. We want to maximize lean muscle mass and minimize to an extent body fat gain. When you are in a gaining phase, you will gain some body fat. The whole idea of a lean bulk, I fucking hate that term. I really hate it, because it gets in the idea of the people's heads that you are able to stay lean or very lean or comparatively lean throughout your entire gaining phase. Put it straight to you, if you got lean enough for a bodybuilding show or lean enough for a photo shoot, you are not staying that lean. If you want to pack on some muscle mass, that's going to come with some body fat accumulation. So we will get to a point where body fat accumulation, like, we might start to lose our abs a little bit. And for a male, we might, if we were competing, we might veer in the upper echelons of 30 to 40 pounds above our stage weights. And this is all comparative to the individual. So with a younger athlete, we can push closer to the 40 pound mark. And again, this is how you feel. Some people may feel still like quite suppressed or like feel like they're dieting above the 20 pound mark. You know, that's not uncommon. So it's all preferential, it's all individual based, but males tend to be falling in the 30 to 40 pound mark before they want to push things back. This is above stage weights. If you've done a photo shoot or got beach lean, take 10 to 15 pounds off all these numbers, okay? So male, get to that sort of 30 to 40 pound mark, and then we want to start bringing things back. Females, again, that sort of 10 to 20 pounds, I'd say closer to 15 to 20 pounds above their sort of initial stage rates, comparative to their body weight, comparative to their class, etc. How lean they got when they're next competing. There's so many things, okay? But if you're a competitor, those are the sort of ranges. If you're not a competitor, you've got to keep an eye on where you're accumulating body fat. If you're a younger guy or a younger girl listening to this, you'll get to the point where you do accumulate a decent amount of body fat. You'll feel like appetite is coming down or appetite is suppressed. You'll feel a little bit more sluggish in the gym. You'll feel like you're dragging yourself around. And this can sometimes come after a good 4 to 6 months of a gaining phase. And that'll be good. If you get to 6 months and you've not run a mini cut, round of applause for you, because that's good. Like that's decent, and you'll have had some solid time in the surplus. You'll have probably gained a decent amount of weight. You'll have some blocks in that 6 months or 4 to 6 months for a younger individual where you'll have perhaps maintained your body weight and you might not have gained, and that's fine. You know, we're not expecting just sort of steady linear increases. We're expecting there to be peaks and troughs, just like dieting. So how we're going to be setting up sort of this brief diet phase, I tend to go for something like 4 to 6 weeks. And this will be very aggressive. And the aggression that we put into it is again relative to the individual, but also it's combined with how much do we think we have to lose, and also sort of the position that they're in with regards to their hunger, their general performance in the gym, etc., and why we're doing this phase. For most people, most males, I tend to look to lose anywhere between 10 and 15 pounds in this period of time. And that sounds like a lot, but it's really not when you're at the upper limit of your gaining phase. Like 10 to 15 pounds off that is not a huge amount. If you were lean, it would be different. Hence why we need to actually get to that point first before we rationale coming back down. Because if you're just going up, like you're going up a small amount and then coming back down again, you'll just fucking spin your wheels for about, ages, and you'll just never build any muscle or not appreciable muscle mass like I talked in the last video about. So 10 to 15 pounds for a male in this 4 to 6 window. Now, I tend to take the idea of getting in pretty dirty with this sort of method and really cutting calories. And so if you were maintaining or slightly gaining on like 3100 to 3200 calories, which is around about my maintenance / gaining macros, I'd slash that all the way down to something like 2400. And that would be a big deficit for me. Put that into perspective. I'm losing steadily at the moment on sort of like 2600 calories, 2700 calories, with not a huge amount of cardio either. So I'd go pretty aggressive. I'd get in, I'd get out. The whole idea of this is getting into the fat loss phase and immediately getting back out and going to gaining. The younger you are, the more important it is that you just use these phases just to reboot, stay a bit leaner, and then go again. The more experienced you get, the closer you'll have to stay to that potential stage weight or lean weight. And the reason for this is that your potential to build lean muscle mass decreases as time goes on in terms of the pounds of muscle mass that you can potentially gain over time. If your training and nutrition is on point, over the years, you'll see less lean muscle mass gains year to year. For example, I think that in this year, or the last year that I took a whole year off, 20 years old, I think I've gained about 8 to 10 pounds of lean muscle mass. That is the upper limits of what these natural limits would tell us. So I'd say that I'm pretty preferentially, like, I'm in a good position. Like I can obviously build muscle well, which is a good sign, because that's good for me. I'm happy about that. But some people will build muscle at a slower rate, and this is partly down to genetics and definitely cause for another video. But the idea is, if you're seeing people that are older than you, so if you're 20 and 21, or even if you're 18, 16 watching this, and you're looking up to a 28-year-old, 30, mid-30-year-old, 40-year-old lifter, and you're seeing how lean they stay in their off-seasons, that's a poor comparison. That is literally the worst thing you could compare yourself to. Because looking at Steve Cook, even if he's natural, we're not arguing whether he's natural or not. I think Steve Cook is quite possibly natural because of his physique. But his improvements year to year will categorically be less than you can make at 18, 20 years old. He will be able to build less lean muscle mass than you nailing your nutrition at 18 to 20 years old. So you can afford to push your body weight up more than Steve. You can look fatter than Steve and still be making potential progress. Whereas Steve will potentially have to stay leaner, not only for marketability reasons, but also the idea that Steve is allowing himself to be in a consistent zone to eke out that little bit of progression that he can get at that later stage. So guys, take home is there are reasons, that's always going to be a reason why you could potentially diet. The ones that you don't want to pick is dieting for no fucking reason whatsoever, which is what seems to be so prevalent in this industry. Oh, diet for this wedding. Oh, diet for body power. Oh, diet for this expo. Oh, I've got a photo shoot. Oh, this client's told me I'm fat and I need to diet. Like, it's just all over the place. You only diet when you need to. It's a periodized approach. You gain, you diet. You perhaps maintain, you gain. It's all an approach that you do at the right time. If you do stuff at the wrong time, it just makes no sense. It's like going out to the shops and buying all your groceries for the week, putting them in the fridge, and then just immediately going back out to the shop again, buying all your groceries again, and then having no room in the fridge. It's just pointless. Why are you doing that? It's just a pointless activity, dieting for realistically no optimal reason. I do get the marketability side of things, and I do get that some people do not have the goal of building as much muscle as possible. But if you're watching this and you want to get jacked as fuck, you've got to realise that sometimes dieting for your holiday in Ibiza is not practical and not optimal in the whole perspective of building as much muscle as possible. But yeah, that's the video for today, guys. So thank you very much for watching. Any questions on this topic or any topics that you want me to cover in the future, let me know. Appreciate the support, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers, guys.